In this episode of the ReelBlend podcast, the hosts welcome Gareth Edwards, the director of The Creator, to discuss the film and its reception. They also touch on various topics such as the use of visual effects, the character arcs, and the box office performance of the film. The hosts begin by praising The Creator as a remarkable film with a beautiful human element and heady sci-fi themes. They mention that the film's visual effects are seamless and commend Edwards for achieving such a high-quality look on a relatively modest budget. They inquire about the process of creating the effect of seeing through the head of the AI in the film. Edwards explains that they did not shoot separate plates for each shot, but instead relied on extensive paint-out work in post-production to create the effect. The conversation then shifts to the film's twist that challenges the perception of AI as the villain. Edwards explains that the film uses AI as a metaphor for how society treats those who are different, emphasizing the importance of understanding and empathy. He believes that the film's message is particularly relevant in today's polarized world. The hosts also discuss the character arcs in the film, particularly the journey of the protagonist played by John David Washington. Edwards explains that character arcs are about milestones and key moments that lead to a change in the character's perspective. He mentions that the film's structure is like a clock, with specific points in the story representing different stages of the character's transformation. The conversation then delves into the length of the film and the decision to trim it down to 2 hours. Edwards reveals that the first assembly of the film was nearly 5 hours long, and they had to cut it down to meet the desired runtime. He explains that they focused on finding the right balance and removing unnecessary scenes while still maintaining the film's core elements. The hosts express their disappointment with the film's box office performance, considering it to be a highly deserving film. Edwards acknowledges that box office numbers can be unpredictable and that the true measure of a film's success is how it is perceived over time. He mentions that he is proud of the film and would do it all over again, regardless of its box office performance. The hosts also discuss the technical aspects of the film, such as the use of the Sony FX3 camera and the seamless integration of visual effects. Edwards explains that they designed the film's visuals based on the actual footage, using real-world locations as references. They aimed to blend the visual effects with the foreground elements to create a seamless look. He also mentions that they initially planned to shoot the film on film stock but had to opt for a digital emulation due to budget constraints. The hosts mentioned that they were initially hesitant to ask Edwards about the box office performance of The Creator because they didn't want to insult him. However, they were glad that the conversation led to a discussion about the longevity of certain films and the impact they can have, regardless of their initial box office success. They bring up the example of Blade Runner, which only made $6 million in its opening weekend but is still widely discussed and celebrated today. The hosts also speculate on why Edwards agreed to do more press for The Creator despite its underperformance at the box office. They suggest that he may genuinely believe in the film and want to showcase it to a wider audience, even if it takes time for it to find its audience. The conversation then shifts to the topic of audience awareness and the bubble that film enthusiasts often find themselves in. They discuss how people outside of the film industry may not be aware of certain movies, even if they are considered significant within the industry. They use the example of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour movie, which is opening in theaters and is expected to perform well due to Swift's massive fan base. They also mention that they live in a bubble where they assume their audience is already familiar with certain films, but they have to adjust their approach when speaking to a broader audience. The hosts express their excitement for the Eras Tour movie and discuss the unique experience it offers. They mention that concert films allow the audience to be the editor, choosing where to focus their attention, unlike traditional films where the shots are predetermined. They also note that Swift's tour was highly sought after, and the movie provides an opportunity for those who couldn't attend the live shows to experience it in a different way. The conversation then turns to the potential impact of concert films in the theatrical business. The hosts discuss how this format could attract audiences and provide a new revenue stream for artists. They mention that Taylor Swift and Beyoncé are currently leading the way with their concert films, but other artists may follow suit if they see the success of these projects. The hosts also touch on the Marvel TV strategy and the recent decision to start over on the Daredevil Born Again series. They express their support for Marvel's decision to pause and reassess their approach to television. They believe that Marvel has been focusing too much on setting up future projects rather than telling compelling stories in their TV series. They discuss the need for Marvel to create shows that people want to watch because they love the characters and the show itself, rather than just as a setup for the next Avengers movie. The hosts conclude by acknowledging that Marvel has faced criticism for their recent content and that this course correction is a step in the right direction. They express their hope that Marvel will take the time to create high-quality shows that match the standards set by their earlier phases. They also mention that Marvel's success has made it difficult for them to take risks and try new things, but they believe that this reset could lead to more innovative and engaging storytelling. The hosts begin by discussing the box office performance of recent films, particularly in relation to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. They express their opinions on whether the rapid release of MCU films has led to oversaturation and diminished excitement among audiences. While they acknowledge the financial success of the franchise, they suggest that spacing out the releases more could have been beneficial for the brand. The conversation then shifts to the upcoming limited series The Fall of the House of Usher by Mike Flanagan, who has previously directed successful horror projects such as The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. The hosts praise Flanagan's work and express their excitement for his new project. They also mention that Flanagan will be directing a new Stephen King movie, which is expected to be a more dramatic and character-driven story. The hosts briefly touch on the topic of the potential actor strike, speculating on when it might end and how it could impact the industry. They joke about their influence on the strike, suggesting that it will end once they finish their podcast. Returning to the interview with Gareth Edwards, the hosts discuss his previous works, including Rogue One, a Star Wars story in Godzilla. They praise Edwards' ability to create visually stunning films and his talent for storytelling. They also mention his involvement in the upcoming Stephen King adaptation and express their anticipation for the project. The hosts then share their thoughts on the horror series The Haunting of Hill House, with one host describing it as one of the best pieces of horror they have ever seen. They specifically highlight the episode featuring the bent neck lady as one of the greatest episodes of television ever created. They also discuss the effective use of jump scares in the series, particularly one memorable scene involving a car. The conversation turns to the second season of the series, The Haunting of Bly Manor, which some hosts admit to initially sleeping on. However, upon rewatching it, they express a newfound appreciation for the touching story and its emotional impact. The hosts mention that The Fall of the House of Usher will be the last project that Mike Flanagan does with Netflix, as his deal with the streaming platform is coming to an end. They also mention that Flanagan will be working on the adaptation of Stephen King's The Dark Tower for Amazon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe.